So dreadlocks coming to be popular came in with rebellion because the white man dreaded dreadlocks. To dread something is to hate it. Okay. And that is even why they started calling it dreadlocks, okay? Because the white man dreaded them so much. How could the Bunyoro people would have invented cesarean if they were illiterate?
I didn't know about Bunyoro.
Look at the walls in Shona. Yeah, the Uganda Bunyoro people of modern day Uganda.
More so that we can buy an iPhone. Anyway, so I also want us to talk about African civilization.
Okay.
When was were Africans civilized before the white man came?
Africans have been surviving. Not surviving really. Africans were living long before colonization happened. Africans were living their lives to the fullest.
Because what we understand, what we get to hear or what we get
Africans
to know is that
everything.
It's like Africans existed after the European came.
No. How could we have existed after the European came? When the Greek philosophers used to come to Africa to study.
It doesn't make sense.
Studied in Africa for 22 years. How can we harbor such information that we had the first universities in the world, the universities in Timbuktu, in Morocco. We've always had an education system. So tell me, how could we have had the type of civilization that we had, as big as it was, as advanced as it was, if we were barbaric, if we were illiterate? How could the Oromo people, how did they have the ability to detect that coffee was a stimulant? If they were stupid, how could the Bunyoro people would have invented cesarean if they were illiterate?
I didn't know about Bunyoro.
Look at the walls in Shona. Yeah, the Uganda Bunyoro people of modern day Uganda, they were the first people to invent C-section, medicine. Things like medicine, mathematics, astrology from the Dogon. How could we have had all that advanced knowledge if we were illiterate?
No way. Hakuna kitu kama hiyo tungepata. Hata I was looking at the way pyramids were made. Pyramids were made 500 BC, before Christ, in Egypt. So those were Africans making such, making a pyramid ni kitu nasikia hata haijajulikana venye ilimekiwa aje. Is that true?
Yeah, true.
So if Africans were that smart to make a pyramid, so that means we are smart. We were born smart and we are smart.
Yeah, we are.
And the civilization
is intelligence cuts across, and just like I said, there's so many. When these people met us, a lot of them, a lot of Africans were even taken to the lab. They did a lot of experiments on Africans, and some of the experiments are not even accessible to the public. Like the true functions of the melanin and everything. Intelligence, actually, black people can reach the very high levels of intelligence just because of the fact that we have, melanin. Because there are so many components of the brain that are composed of melanin. Okay, so black people can do a lot of big things, but we've never known that because the media, I think, the media was one of the tools that was used to make us feel inferior. Because most of the time we would watch the media and advancement, even school in itself, was brought about to make us feel inferior. Because most of the time they had a whole list in history, I don't know whether it was history subject where they would show us white inventors, you know, inventing Michael Faraday, the Wright brothers inventing, I don't know, aeroplane or what, you know, Louis Pasteur, Galileo, whatever. These were all white people being shown to have invented things. So from us, we came from a point where we started believing that we cannot. Actually, even me personally, as a young girl, I would look at shows like America's Got Talent, and I would only see white people. If you see a black person, it's just like once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
So these things, the more you continue watching such things, you realize that it makes you feel that black people can't do a certain things, and because I'm a black person, I can't. You understand? We getting taught that, you know, the best universities are abroad. Yeah. When you Google online and you check, you know, IQ, African countries are at the bottom, you know, of it.
Oh.
And these things, it is a mental brainwash that was really well calculated. And I think us growing up,
so that we won't believe in ourselves.
Yeah, so that we would not believe in ourselves, so that we would be slaves. You know, that's how you make a perfect slave. Somebody who will just work for you, help you build your dreams. Somebody who will just think that their role in this world was to come and help other people get, you know, morph into the best version of themselves and not themselves alone. And so even the genesis of slavery in itself, you know, a lot of people say that slavery started in Africa, that Africans were also slave owners. No, in Africa we had servants, and actually people took their role seriously. If you were like the somebody who was supposed to work in the palace, people took their roles very seriously as Africans, and so we didn't really pay attention to doing the same thing to become doctors at the end of the day, all of us, all of us to become lawyers. People were following their own dreams, because when you sit back, you realize that each and every person has a different path they want to follow. We don't all want the same things. Yeah, so that is how, you know, Africa used to be. Okay? Until we were made to start doubting ourselves. There was a time I didn't even know an African could sing. You know, I didn't know that could sing.
I didn't know that Mansa Musa was an African who was the richest person.
Yeah, and they omitted that from history. And there are so many good things. Time when you want to kufunza about Pythagoras theorem, why can't they just say that actually Pythagoras spent 22 years studying in Africa? They can't tell you that. Then they'll just tell you the philosophy. And this is why I say a lot of Greek philosophies, because they are the holders, they are the custodians of like the most ancient philosophies in the world. When you look at, you know, medicine from there, you know, some of the mathematical formulas from there. But then Greece had a very close intellectual relationship with Africa. The closest. Greek people used to come from Greek to Africa, from Greece to Africa to come study.
Okay.
You understand? And these are things that we had no idea of, because if you were told that, then you would be looking at Africa differently.
Yeah, you hata wewe mwenyewe una feel like I can do this if a black person did this, like Steve was saying. You say that the guy who made Jack Daniels was an African. Steve said so. And there are so many inventions and discoveries that Africans are the ones who came up with. But it's more like stealing intellectual property. You know, like when I remember when I was in campus first year, my lecturer, parasitology lecturer, told us that never trust anyone with your intellectual property. And you know, the people who are being taken out of Africa and being enslaved were not useless people. Okay. They were skilled, fully equipped with skills. These were doctors. That makes sense. These were, you know, midwives. These were healers. You know, so there's a lot of inventions that was taken. And even people, you know, because I thought the slaves were people who were just handpicked for just going and working for work purposes. I didn't think that they picked intellectuals. They did pick intellectuals, and they picked the most healthy, to the point that
there was a time that they were breeding Africans with each other, and they did not care whether that was your sister, as long as you looked healthy. What? And another female looked healthy. They were using Africa to specifically produce slaves. Yeah, the breeding camps. I don't know whether you people have read about the breeding camps. There were breeding spaces where Africans were being.
Have you?
They were breeding. Okay, I don't even know why I'm laughing about that. When you look at it now, you're like, what? Like that was like, these things were really intense to the point it's unbelievable. But it was true, and that is why a lot of Africans also have really negative attitude towards incest and everything. But these things are still going on because they did not care. They did not care whether that was your father. If you were chosen to breed, you were to breed. If you were chosen that you are the one who's going to breed, you were to breed. And that is when they started, creating now specific Africans for specific purposes.
Talking of people like medicine men, these were guys that were smart enough to know that using these herbs, you're going to cure this and not this.
Yeah.
If you talked of, were they Bunyoro?
Yeah.
Bunyoro, if those guys could do a CS, is it a CS?
Yes, C-section. And they did even the equipment, the medical equipment. A lot of them have their origin.
Then that means tumekuwa brainwashed.
Yeah, it's a lot of brainwash that when you realize, you're like, what you don't even you wake up.
Because mimi nilidhani wazungu ndo wali come up na such ideas. We've been shown they are the only people who can come up with such ideas. We need to believe in ourselves as Africans. That's why I said.
And trust me, when we start believing in ourselves as Africans, we will blow our minds.
Yeah.
Because we have brilliant people. These people just don't have access. Or they just are not being seen. Because the rules have been made so difficult that you can't thrive as a black person. Especially if you are an inventor of something. It's so difficult to thrive or to get to because they will probably materials will not be accessible to you. Like we don't have access to so many things. Right now in my business that I was doing of exporting clothes, it is so difficult to export out of Africa. But it is so easy to import. It has been so difficult. Personally, when I'm exporting one clothes, it costs me like 6K.
What?
Imagine if I'm to export 10 different outfits to 10 different people in the US, Germany, and blah, it would cost me around 60,000. Meaning I'm even making more money for the business owners than I'm making myself. Like if I was to make a profit of 1 million today, then the profit that for me to make a profit of 1 million, I have to make them a profit of 6 million.
Jesus.
You understand? Like they're ripping off. It's so difficult. They've made it so difficult for Africans to export. But so easy. Importing is so easy.
Yeah, importing, you import so something for a very cheaper cost.
It doesn't even cost you much. But exporting now, it's difficult. And when they make export difficult, then even your clients that are abroad, somebody would not buy a product that they're going to pay delivery fee is twice the price of the product. The delivery fee is thrice. Like, for example, if I was to sell a trouser at $40, okay, and then I'm sending it to someone and it is costing me $660 to send.
You are making loss out of it.
Yeah, it's crazy. And these are the things that we deal with, and that is when you realize. Even somebody. I posted a video about a guy from Kenya, a Kalenjin guy, who invented Cameron. Cameron was like an ARV, okay? So, inventing it was working well in Kenya. And President Moi even announced it to the public. You can't, as a president, you can't go on announcing things that have not been proven.
Okay.
You can't. And President Moi announced this drug that it was working. But when word hit the international, the curators, the people who accept what goes in and what doesn't, they said it was that was a lie. And then some few years later they bring in ARVs. ARVs, it's not easy. Some Africans are trying.
We need to
and
believe
there
in
are others
ourselves.
that are trying and are making it, but there's so many people who are trying to actually get out and achieve their best potential. But then again, there are so many blockages because people are not talking.
We are not ready to have such conversations.
I'm sorry that my net is a little bit buffering. I'm sorry about that. I'll go live on a stable network maybe some other time.
All right.
Yeah.
So, you were saying of African inventions not being accepted by those who approve what to go in and out.
Yeah, and it's because of, commercialization purposes. When you invent something, there's, money that is expected to flow towards that direction, right? And so there are people who really want to stay in charge of things. It's a lot of politics, but at the end of the day, one thing that we need to know is who we are first.
Yeah, we need to know ourselves.
So that the people who are not even trying to be better, or the people who have esteem issues, can actually stand and be better and
believe in ourselves.
Yeah.
Because the guy who came up with M-Pesa is an African.
Yeah.
He's a Kenyan.
And M-Pesa is doing so well.
It's like almost global.
It's famous.
Globally accepted.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about hair. Dreadlocks is an issue. Is an issue.
Yeah.
Having dreadlocks in Kenya, you are a suspect of either drugs ama ulikuwa unaiba. Almost say dreadlocks iko almost kuassociatiwa na wash. It's that close.
Yeah, true.
Where okay. Nilisikia ukisema that dreadlocks hazijakuja jana. Okay, I once saw a post where that ancient Egyptians were having dreadlocks zenye zilikuwa zinafika hadi kwa miguu to just show that this is a powerful person. This person has been in power for a long time. So what's your take on dreadlocks? Where did we have that culture of dreadlocks? I also had I think it's your video where you said that Africans would pick their hair to show maps. Tell us much about hair, Africa.
Okay, Africans, first of all, when it comes to culture and beauty, Africans never. We didn't just do things for the sake of doing things. When you read about the history of the European fashion evolution, you realize that Europeans mostly, they wore clothes for, basic reasons like keeping themselves warm. And it evolved to, you remember, like when you watch their films or their history books, you see them with a lot of corsets and huge outfits.
Yeah.
Like those are the stuff that they used to wear. Okay, for some indigenous people, they had their own meanings to them, but as they started having access to slaves, the moment they started having access to slaves, the fashion sense started changing more towards sports because they had people to do their house chores for them. So they had a lot of free time to participate in sports. And slavery has a lot of effect in the evolution of the white people's fashion. And I'm talking about the dominant, like French, I'm talking about the Europe, I'm talking about UK, I'm talking about, these countries that were colonizers, okay? So these people, they had more time to participate in sports. And so that is how their culture started evolving and moving more towards sports. And even though we wear a lot of their stuff. Sneakers were worn for balls, polo shirts were worn in polo, we had like cricket, we had like, they had uniforms, and those uniforms are what we've taken and we've changed them, we've given them a whole meaning in hip-hop and stuff. But then again, in Africa, it was totally different. We used to wear clothes for identity. Your clothes would represent who you are. Your hair would tell your age, where you come from, who you are.
Your hair would tell.
Yeah. Your hair, just they would be able to tell like you are from the Himba tribe when you had those long ninis and it's gonna the reds, the red mud, long hair. Then when you are from like let's say somewhere like in Luo, like a lot of us used to shave. Used to shave our heads, and when you come from like the tribes, like okay, which tribe would I mention? Like the Somalis, you'd see they would do their hair in a certain way. You know, the Rwandese, the Ethiopians, like these people would do. These indigenous groups had a way to do their hair that when you looked at them, you would know that Uyu. This one comes from this place. No, this one comes from this kingdom. This one comes from this. This one comes from here. So it was, and also children also had different hairstyles than the adults. So you would tell this one comes from here, but this much old. Okay. So clothes were our fashion sense, hair and clothes were identity. And so this is dreadlocks have always been there. They've always been there, especially they were worn by spiritualists.
Hazijakuja na banki.
No. Dreadlocks were worn by very spiritual people in the past. You know, the witches, okay, of which we didn't used to call it witches. The healers, you know, the people who are very spiritual, the mediators. When you were seen wearing dreadlocks, you were a very powerful person in the past because the hair was like the antenna and it had memories and blah. And the fact that your hair as memory is even the reason why a lot of Africans used to shave. Widows used to shave after they've lost someone, they've lost a husband. So that it would go with the memories, okay? So that you would grow new hair. So hair to us has always been a very spiritual thing. And so a lot of us...
hair was spiritual.
Yeah, and it had a lot of freedom. It came with a lot of freedom that is even portrayed in that story of Samson. You know, his hair was everything. His hair was his power. And so hair has always been very powerful. It's like you're an antenna. You can communicate with it. All right? So dreadlocks coming to be popular came in with rebellion because the white man dreaded dreadlocks. You know, to dread something is to hate it. And that is even why they started calling it dreadlocks, okay? Because the white man dreaded them so much. They hated them so much.
Did you know that?
So dreadlocks in the Mau Mau times was as a sign of rebellion. If you were seen wearing dreadlocks, they would know that you were against the white man, and you would be killed. And sometimes you would even be wiped off with your entire family. So people also developed fear. All right, people also developed fear when this started happening, and so when they developed fear, they started stigmatizing it. They didn't want they just wanted people to just give in. There's no need you get killed. You know, just give in. And then Africans used to kill the Mungikis. They used to attack the white men so much. They used to kill them because the white men were also killing the black people. And so they were just rebellious people. But the moment you were seen wearing dreadlocks, you would be feared by your own people, or you would be killed by the white man.
I understand.
All right. So that is where we inherited it. It never stopped. We started associating dreadlocks with Mungikis, and then we started associating Mungikis with killers. And yet Mungikis were people who were just defending the land. All right. Mungikis were just people who are defending the land, but we were made to even hate them because that is what the white man does: divide and rule. Okay. So the people who were collaborators also started hating the resistors. Yeah. So that is what happened.
So much information today. You need to learn all this. Wow. Hey, Steve, Steve alisema that Samson had dreadlocks. We don't know whether that was true.
But Samson's hair was there's no other explanation you can give to it. It wasn't the hair, even the way it has been described in the Bible. It wasn't flowy Caucasian hair. it was dreadlocks. It was huge strands of hair.
Strands. You get that?
You know, like it wasn't. Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't. It was huge strands of it. Like his hair was something you would look at him, and that is the first thing you would notice.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, a very long conversation with one and only sweet NYAR KANO. What? Sweetie, someone has a question?
Okay, so there's someone here who asked a question lakini imepata. The guy was asking why is it that Africans still long for, I'm trying to remember, why do Africans still long for products from the white man, yet we can make them by ourselves? I think he gave an example of cocoa.
Yeah.
Cocoa chocolate. You know, chocolate.
Cocoa, I understand.
In Cadbury.
Zile cloves ndo zina makingi cocoa.
It's made in Switzerland. Yet the cocoa itself is grown in Africa. Kuna malingine tunatoa cocoa. So why do Africans prefer kununua chocolate Switzerland na sio make their own in Africa?
It all goes back to brainwash.
Yeah.
We are so brainwashed that we don't even know what we are capable of. We first of all, you meet people and they're like, oh, where is your clothes from? And if you say if you say I bought it from a local designer pale, you know, pale whatever city market, wachana na hata Gikomba. Yeah, unasema I bought it from a designer pale city market or whatever.
Masai market.
That is Masai market. People are not proud to say that. Watu wanataka Gucci. You know, I imported it from Italy. People think that is what is really beautiful, okay? Yeah, even if you want to brag. Ukisema you bought your bag, like your bag is from city market, your bag is from a certain, you know, African designer, then people are not so proud.
Ukiadvertise na mzungu mwenye aliva, hiyo itaenda likely kwenda mbio shinda mwenye.
Yeah, it's this brainwash of us. We have low self-esteem as a continent. Apart from the individualized esteem issues that we deal with, we also have a general collective esteem issues as black people and as Africans. Not even, I think black people in other places are trying because they are really trying to buy stuff from Africa.
Yeah.
But us, we just hate ourselves. We just hate what we produce. We just hate. And some people say that, you know, Africans, black-owned businesses are not creating up to par quality. Most of the time, there are a lot of black brands that are doing the work, doing a good job. But then there are brands that are also trying, you know.
Wow.
Are also trying. There are some machines that we don't even have access to here in Kenya.
Yeah.
There are so many things we don't even have access to because us, we have been branded as the consumers, never the producers. You understand? And we've branded ourselves like that as well. You wouldn't buy stuff from a black person because you feel like unakaa kama mimi. And yet other races buy a lot of black people stuff.
That makes sense.
Other races buy Africans so much that they would give any money to get African products. But then us, we don't like our own products.
Seta wakizungu wakikuja, they want to go home with the Masai sheets.
Imagine. These are bits of Masai.
It's brainwash. The mentality to think that we are just the consumers. Sisi tunafaa kutengenezewa tu. Sisi tuna consume.
Talking of beats, there's something you said about making that Africans used to have a microscope. Was it?
Yeah.
Tell us that.
Africans used to have beads.
Na tunaongea kuhusu before mzungu akuje.
To do the work that the microscope does. You know, the lens. You can actually use that lens. It was made using beads. So people would wear them. People who use them would wear them. And they were used to detect, you know, germs, to detect, while you're picking fruits, you would look at it and see if it had germs on it. before you eat it, okay? They used to use this on their foods and stuff just to make sure that there were no pathogens, because they knew about specific pathogens that were present in specific in specific things. So the education that we have today, that we have to go 12 years to acquire, was actually a way of life in Africa. A lot of these things were just known by everyone. It was very common. You know, if somebody felt a stomach ache, it was very common for a kid to go pick a certain herb. Yeah. And just, you know, get rid of the stomach ache at that. It was normal.
Unlike
these
nowadays.
Things that when nowadays, when you have access to information, people think you're an intellectual, you're smart, whatever. But this was a way of life in Africa. Everyone knew ways to survive, and they would teach each other, you know, ways to keep safe, ways to, you know, make sure that you're safe as a person, you know, ways to take care of yourself in case anything happens and there's no one to take care of you. There were just so many things that were common knowledge in Africa that nowadays are golden information. Wow. That only a few people have access to. And I think that is another thing, that the education system is really, our education system is not really equipped for the survival of individuals. It is equipped for making money only. That is why certain information are only made accessible to certain type of people. And that is why our education system is dividing us apart, so that everyone is busy studying a specific thing. People are busy measuring, when all this information is something that we can actually live with. The necessary, essential information such as health, you know, information regarding health, I think it should be available to everyone. You know, information regarding, there's some information, yes, you get to a point, you go to a specialist, but there's just some things that you can take care of yourself by yourself, like knowing what to eat when and how, stuff like that.
Who is to blame ikikam kwa vitu kama education yenye tulipata shule? Cause vitu zenye I think tulifunzwa shule kupass exam, not to know about
cramming.
We were taught to cram, not to understand stuff.
And we blame, partly we blame, you know, everyone takes responsibility, because we also somehow allowed it to happen. You know, we also allowed ourselves to be lied to. We welcomed people and into our, you know, and we also had the disunity, because the disunity that we had between us is what really sold us out. Because it was only later that people were realizing that, oh my God, we are fighting ourselves. We are really, really, really fighting ourselves. But in the beginning, it was so easy to divide because of, you know, greed, you know, leaders wanting more or whatever. But at the end of the day, we also played a part in our own colonization. And I think taking responsibility for giving yourself and actually just acknowledging and being aware of what is going on is all that we need to do. We don't need to blame anyone. We just need to be aware of what is going on.
That's all we need.
Yeah.
And believing in ourselves.
Yeah.
We have had a lot to learn today.
Yeah.
We just need, we need to be aware of ourselves.
Self-awareness is key.
Where you come from.
Know who you are. Everyone should know who they are. And you know people know who they are. Deep down, when you get into meditation, you know who you are. When you stop listening to the outside voices, and start listening to yourself, you know who you are. Yourself knows who you are better than anyone else.
Wow. What a way to end the show today.
Yeah.
Such a nice episode. Ladies and gentlemen, please like, share, subscribe. And mtufuate hata TikTok, Instagram, all these platforms. Kuna mtu ako na swali huko hivyo before we end the show? No. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Kwanza kwa kutufikisha 1,000 subscribers. Millennial Podcast, we coming like this. We coming in hot like a hit. Hot like a hit. you know what's up. Let me tell you this. Hii video ikifika how many views? How many views? Ndo tunarudisha nani hapa? Sweet NYAR KANO. Ikifika ngapi?
500,000 kama.
Exactly.
500,000 K kama followers wake. Do that. We're going to bring her back for more enlightenment. Ladies and gentlemen, Millennial Podcast. Have yourselves a nice day. Thank you.
Yay.
It's a wrap.